Hello everybody, this is Chris Hastings, Executive Producer for World Channel. Thank you for joining us today for our screening and QA of Fannie Lou Hamer's America, The Beyond the Lens. For those of you who are joining us for the first time today, thank you for joining us. Fannie Lou Hamer's America premiered on PBS on February 22nd, and the film is now streaming in the PBS app. And today's screening, though, is for a segment that we produced to give you a little inside look of Fannie Lou Hamer's America, the production, but also to introduce you to our executive producer, Monica Land, who was joining me here on the screen today. We're going to hear from Monica in a little bit, but first we're going to watch this Beyond the Lens interview, which should give you a good understanding of this film and Fannie Lou Hamer's family. So we're going to play the Beyond the Lens film short now. I ask if you have questions from Monica about Fannie Lou Hamer's America, Fannie Lou Hamer, please drop your questions in the comments below the video. I'm watching the comments, and I'm going to be interviewing Monica after the video is played. And this should be a good sort of event. So looking forward to hearing from you. Here is Fannie Lou Hamer's America, Beyond the Lens.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
My mom used to always sing This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Her singing had an urgency about it, an urgency for people to listen, for people to know that they were working for a cause, and everybody needed to join in because there was so much against the black people back then. My name is Jacqueline Hamer Flakes, and I'm the youngest and only living daughter of the late civil rights activist, Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. People have written books, they have made movies, they have done bios, but they really don't know the real Fannie Lou Hamer.
We have been black, powerless people for 400 years.
My name is Monica Land, and Fannie Lou Hamer was my great aunt. Her husband, Pap, and my maternal grandfather were brothers. One of the things that I saw that was missing in all of the documentaries and clips that I'd seen on Aunt Fannie Lou was the family element. Stories that I had been told and heard my entire life, those were missing. That personal side of her life was missing, and I thought people needed to see that. Aunt Fannie Lou had always said was that she had spoken at every college and university campus there was. And once we started researching this film, we saw that that was just about true. She had a very large presence.
I've been very concerned with young black people in Mississippi, and there's no need of getting an education, running to some other place. Fight and make it right here. I'd take a chance in Mississippi quicker than I would Chicago, because we at least know where we are here. But they got some of the same hypocrites up there. It's just like these white racists down here.
I just thought, you know, why not let her tell her own story? She was known, you know, for her public speaking. She was such a fiery speaker.
I didn't come to Washington to hear no bills being legislated that they would feed me in 1972. What in the world is going on between 972? I'm thinking about what you gonna do for my people in December.
When she spoke Before other people, she told them about her background, her history, the cotton fields, where she came from. And so it just seemed natural to just build that and let her tell her own existence.
See, Mississippi is not actually Mississippi's problem. Mississippi is America's problem.
My name is Jimmy Lee Lacy, and Aunt Fannie is my great aunt. She was the baby of the family. She believed truly in God. Our family was kind of a religious family, and you was gonna do something in the church. If she was there, you was gonna do something, whether it was sing, pray, preach, or whatever. It looked like everybody was quiet, and if there wasn't a preacher, there's a Sunday school teacher or a Sunday school superintendent. We were brought up like that. But we was taught to love everybody, whether you was white or black. Skin never made a difference with her when it come down to righteous or come down to being right. In the same way with wrong. If you're wrong, it didn't make no difference what color you were. If you was wrong, she told you was wrong.
If I hate you because you hate me, I'm no better than you are. And all we want to do is to make these people understand that we are human beings and we can work together.
Long before she got involved in civil rights, she was saying,
We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We are tired of working for $3 measly a day, going home and being too tired to cook what little we did have.
because she was. Picking cotton was such a chore. My mother picked cotton, and 50, 60 years later, she's still traumatized by seeing cotton fields. She hates to see them because of the drudgery that it was on them. And so Aunt Fannie Lou did this for so long. And so that saying just followed her all of her life. Her song moved people, it motivated people. The freedom songs that she sang, that's what she used, and she was good at it.
Just think about going to a courthouse and just wanting to register to vote so that your name means something more than just having yourself being counted in the census, but just meaning something where you can vote for the President of the United States, vote for the people who are representing you in your city, in your county, in your state, in your nation. Just knowing that you have the power, or you should have had the power. But it took her going to Indianola and walking up to the counter and saying, we're here to register to vote.
She was out there figuring a way how to make people live better.
She wanted better for her children. She wanted better for her community. And I think that was the driving force, to just make things better for everyone, regardless of their color. Aunt Fannie Lou helped organize Freedom Summer.
People should be expected to get beaten, they should expect to spend in jail, and that they should expect possibly somebody to get killed.
She marched with Dr. King. She spoke. Malcolm X introduced her as America's #1 freedom-fighting woman. She felt the need, with others, including Mrs. Ella Baker, to create the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, or the MFDP.
That a political party should be open to all the people who wish to subscribe to its principles.
That was created because the official Democratic Party of Mississippi didn't allow black people to participate.
In 1964, when Mama Fannie went before the Credentials Committee, she walked in there with her purse on her arms, and I'm gonna say she was only 5'4", but she was walking tall that day. When it was time for her to speak, she said,
"Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, where we have to sleep with our telephones off of the hook because our lives be threatened daily.
And while she was speaking and telling about all the horrible things that were going on in the Mississippi Delta, President Lyndon B. Johnson did all that he could to make sure that it wasn't seen. They went to emergency commercials. He didn't know that that night it was aired anyway. And people all over the world saw that. They saw that she was telling what was going on. She wasn't fearful about telling what was going on because she went point A to point Z. And at the end, she had tears in her eyes. So that let everybody know that it was serious.
She was a very, very important part of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What drove her was hearing that Black people could vote, you know, and have a say in what she called their destiny.
Here they come, followers of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. They've been here at the House of Representatives all day long from this morning. They are all now under arrest, charged with unlawful occupancy of a public building.
I realized who my mama, Fannie Lou Hamer, was when she took us on a trip with her to Atlanta, Georgia. And they had a convention going on, and I saw Mama on stage, and she had that hand on her hip, and her head was reared back, and she was talking, and she was giving the information on what happened to her in Winona when she was beaten.
What happened to her in Winona, Mississippi changed her forever.
I have a blood clot now in the artery to the left eye and a permanent kidney injury on the right side from that beating.
As they were leaving the jail, they were told that Medgar Evers had been assassinated that morning.
15 minutes past midnight, Evers got out of his car beside his home in a Negro residential area. In a vacant lot about 40 yards away, a sniper fired a single shot from a high-powered rifle at Evers' silhouette. The bullet hit him in the back, crashed through his body, through a window into the house. He died within an hour at a Jackson hospital.
She said later that that could have been what spared their lives because she'd heard the law enforcement officials talking about killing them and throwing them in the Big Black River. But because Medgar Evers had been assassinated earlier that morning, all eyes were going to be on Mississippi, and it was going to be too much publicity to do that. And so she honestly believed that the unfortunate death of Medgar Evers is what saved their lives.
I've been beaten in jail till my body was hard as metal. My house was bombed January 28, 1971, but I'm not stopping.
One of the things that moved me about her personality, her voice was so commanding.
In 1963 or 1964, we didn't have many people registered in the Mississippi. But today we have 60% of the Black population registered in Mississippi. We have 42 elected officials in the state of Mississippi. And one day you will be proud when you can say, Senator Fannie Lou Hamer, because I'm on my way, baby.
She said that, you know, people may talk about me because they consider me uneducated, but still they were afraid of her because she had the power. We found all of these television interviews.
Say, will you welcome, please, Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer.
Where she was face-to-face with older white politicians. She was not intimidated by them because they were educated, particularly when she knew what she was talking about.
Even after the 1965 Voting Rights Bill passed and they sent a few registrars in Mississippi, they were able to get a few thousand people registered, but they are still is not accepted on the state book. And the only way these people can vote is on a national election. Well, how can they say they're fighting for the rights of people to vote when we're not allowed to vote in the state of Mississippi.
You've got a good point there, but...
That was amazing for me to see, that you had these old politicians who had been in politics for years with this woman that came out of the cotton field and told them where to go. You know, it's both funny and amazing at the same time that she had that kind of power. She had that kind of presence.
In the state of Mississippi, and we are tired of people saying that we are satisfied.
It was so effective. Dr. Martin Luther King did not like to follow her on stage because she was so dramatic. Belafonte raised the money that sent her and several other SNCC delegates to Africa to visit President Sekou Touré.
Mr. Harry Belafonte's wife, Julie, was with her. And Mama Fannie was amazed by the things that she saw in Ghana. Black people working in the bank, running the stores, you know, people, the president came to the hotel where they were, and Miss Julie came up to the hotel room and she was like, Fannie, the president is here to see you. And Mom was like, no, I'm not going down there. I got rollers in my hair. So Miss Belafonte and her family, they all laugh about that because Mama was family to them. Whenever she was in New York, she stayed in their home. The picture that I saw that made me know that, I'm gonna say, Mama is famous, was a picture of the Kennedys. And I said, Mama, who is that lady? She's pretty. And she said, that's your godmama. And I'm like, my godmama? And she said, that's Jacqueline Kennedy. And I'm like, oh. Now, I don't know if she was just saying that to make me feel good, but I'm still hanging on that story. That's my godmama. She had this best friend, Miss Rose. And she would write letters to Miss Rose where she's really just being a mother and being a friend. This is a letter that Mama wrote on October 13th, 1965. Dear Rose, I received the package today. Thank you. Thank you very much. Rose, I've been very sick. Also, my husband. He stayed in the hospital 14 days and nights with a slipped disc. It's also corrupted. But he's up now, not well, but better, and I am better, thank God. The children are fine, are in school. I hope all your family are fine. Rose, my daughter that's 21 is going to be a mother in November. If you can find any used baby clothes, please send them to me, Rose. Rose, I met a wonderful lady in Portland. She knew you. I told her you are a mother for me, although I'm the oldest. I thank God there are people like you who care. Last night, we watched 2 cars stop in front of the house with white people in them. We saw one fella get out and a white girl. We don't know why they stopped because there are no white people on this street. Who do we report this to? Nobody have been convicted. That's what make me question America. How can we say this is a free country when all this can happen? Oh God, I wonder how long. Well, I have to tell you, as you're one of the greatest friends I ever had. Answer soon. Yours for God and for justice, Fannie Lou Hamer.
When our lead researcher and consultant, Dr. Megan Parker Brooks, found the letters and I started reading the letters, it was just so sad because she really poured out her heart to her friend Rose Fishman. And it was almost like seeing 2 different people. You saw the person, you know, who motivated the crowd and got people to go register and vote, and the person who was shot at and all of that. But then in the letters, you see a woman, you see a mother, a wife, a friend, and all of the baggage that came with that.
This is another letter that Mama Fannie wrote to Mrs. Edgar E. Smith. And this is a person in Massachusetts that she knew. Dear Mrs. Smith, this is to assure you that your letters and checks and also all the boxes. Mrs. Smith, the money was so much help I've been sick again and couldn't have gone to see a doctor. If you all hadn't helped me, I just wish I could put it in writing how I feel about what you all are doing for us. It makes my heart feel so good. Mrs. Smith, I've lasted a long time behind the beating. I got in jail, but it is catching up with me now. My whole body sometimes is sore. But I'm going to work until my days are done. Thank you all for everything. You're for God and justice for men. Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer.
She had just tremendous health issues. And when she was told that she had a tumor and needed to have it removed, during the procedure, a white doctor performed a hysterectomy on her without her knowledge or consent. And apparently at the time, a very common practice, and it was termed a Mississippi appendectomy.
How can you do that? But that's what they were dealing with back then in the 50s and the 60s. When I think about those things, I really get angry. I get angry because she worked hard. She worked tirelessly. And I mean, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was already in a late stage when she found out, she would tell me, Cookie, come on in here, baby, and lay down by Mama. I'm cold. And back then, I didn't know what she was really doing. But the last few days of her being in the hospital in Mount Bayou, Daddy Pap took us to see her. And we started walking in the room. Me and my sister started walking in the room. And she started screaming, get him out of here, get him out of here. She didn't want us to see her like that. So my memory is not of someone who's frail or anything like that, because she never let us see her at that point. But my memory is, Cookie, baby, come on in here. Get in the bed with Mama. Just thinking about her. Loving and caring for 4 daughters, of which she didn't give birth to any. But she loved us, and she took care of us. Every time I come out here, I can just feel her spirit.
We won't determine some of our destiny, and this is what Black Power means.
She is such a tremendous part of our history. It's so sad to me, in all that she accomplished and tried to accomplish, most people don't even know who she is. We take for granted being able to walk in the front door of a grocery store, being able to go in any grocery store. We take for granted being able to go to the schools of our choice. We take for granted being able to eat anywhere we want, sit anywhere on the bus, drink at any water fountain. Those are things that she and so many others fought for and died for. And so because her sacrifices were so great and she died the way that she did, and she is such a part of history, I would just like to see her recognized for what she did and for the sacrifices that she made for this effort.
We want people all over America to know that we're fighting on a principle. And we gonna say now, go and tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go and tell it on the mountain to let my people go. Now everybody sing that, you know it. Go tell it on the mountain.
Live with Monica Land, executive producer of Fannie Lou Hamer's America. I failed to acknowledge one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this event today is that this is the anniversary of Fannie Lou Hamer's death. And so as we sort of celebrate and recognize, it's been 45 years since we've lost her, we thought this would be a good opportunity to reconnect with her legacy through the film Fannie Lou Hamer's America and this Beyond the Lens, which is now streaming on our YouTube channel and the PBS app. But I also thought this would be a good opportunity for our audience to meet the woman behind making this film. Monica, how are you doing today?
Doing good. It's always a solemn occasion when this day rolls around. You feel the loss all over again, just like you would, I think, any family member. It's just kind of a day of remembrance, and it's actually a good thing because so many other people are remembering her on this day as well, and the legacy that she left.
When you started working on this film 10 years ago, what inspired you to want to make it? And I know that you've answered this question a lot, but I think it's important just to sort of share again why you wanted to make this film, Fannie Lou Hamer's America, about your great aunt.
There are a couple of reasons. Wanting to see a different perspective of her life. All of the films that I had seen never really addressed the family issue. Never saw any of her family members or my family members interviewed. Never really heard anything about her personal life, and we know that she had one. And so just wanting to show that to audiences, and then to also reacquaint her or acquaint her with new audiences so that she would be recognized for her contributions. While some people are familiar with her, I think so many more are not, particularly the younger generation. And so wanting them to be aware of her, wanting her name to be amplified, like so many others, like Dr. King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and others who made contributions that were just as valuable as hers were.
Talk a little bit about the family. Like we get to meet Jackie in the Beyond the Lens segment, and in the film we mentioned that there are other daughters. Just for the record, let's talk about her four daughters. Can you walk me through them? Who they are, who they were?
Yes, yes, and we'll actually be posting this on our website today if people want to access it. The first daughter that they adopted was Dorothy Jean, Jackie's mother. They got all of these girls as babies, basically. I think Dorothy was 8 months old when they got her, and so they had her for about 10 years. And they got a second daughter, Virgie Reed, that they adopted, who was Dorothy was a sickly baby. Virgie also had been injured and was sickly, and they took care of her. And after Dorothy died around 1966, 67, and her husband, Sylvester, was going to Vietnam, um, they took Dorothy's two daughters, which was Jacqueline and her sister Lenora, and legally adopted them. So they had these four daughters. And then Uncle Pap had at least one daughter that we know of, Lenny, and Aunt Fannie Lou helped to take care of her and raise her also at one point. So they were just a loving and a giving couple, unable to have children of their own because of a forced hysterectomy Aunt Fannie Lou had due to, I believe it was a fibroid or uterine tumor. And when she went in to have that removed, the doctor gave her a complete and total hysterectomy, which was the equivalent of a rape. He did not tell her, he did not ask her, she did not give her consent or permission. But this was something that was commonly done on Black women at that time. And so he robbed her of her ability to have children. And she had such a love for them. And so she took these girls in who were distant family members of hers, also, by the way, and she loved them just as her own.
Okay. As you sort of share your aunt's story, how do you want people to remember her, memorialize her? Like we said, this is the anniversary of her death. But as you know, I know in your work in Mississippi, you're trying to find ways to sort of keep her memory alive. How do you want people to sort of remember your aunt today as we sit here in 2022 and we look back at her legacy?
That's a good question. Wanting her to be recognized, and although she was not assassinated, like so many others were of that era, um, I think the load of the burden that she was carrying contributed to that. Although her official cause of death were complications from breast cancer, um, she was also a diabetic. But a lot of those things are a result of what she was fighting for, better health care for Black people at that time, because a lot of the issues that she was facing medically perhaps could have been averted or better cared for if she had access to quality health care. Like when she was discovered that she had breast cancer, it was already in its late stage. And basically, nothing could have been done for her. And because, there was really no good medical or healthcare facilities for Blacks during the 60s, they had to travel so far just to get care. And that was what happened in the case of her oldest daughter, Dorothy. She was taken from place to place because Aunt Fannie Lou knew that she would not be treated fairly. And so just remembering that today, being the day that she passed away, it was a lot of things that contributed to her death, not just the illness, but again, the burden that she was carrying for so many others.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing to keep her legacy alive. And I'm referencing the Sunflower Academy. Talk to me about what that is and what you've been doing for the past 10 years as you've been making the film, and where you plan to take it in the next years to come.
Okay. Well, that's really a two-part question. The Sunflower County Film Academy is a young filmmakers workshop that targets high school students in the Mississippi Delta, which is historically underserved. One of the poorest, continues to be one of the poorest communities in the United States, still to this day, as it was in Aunt Fannie Lou's day. And so, just trying to further her work of education, she brought educational programs to Sunflower County. That is where she was from, where she did most of her humanitarian work, her activism. And so, bringing those educational opportunities to the high school students there. Um, what we have found in our research of this area, which is also home to the Mississippi State Penitentiary, is that career opportunities are very limited. Students in the Mississippi Delta pretty much have to leave that area in order to prosper career wise, meaning young people of color. We have talked to young people and residents of that area, and primarily the only job opportunities in that area are driving a truck, nursing, becoming a teacher, working in fast food service industry, a factory, or working for the penal system or becoming a resident of the penal system, unfortunately. And so bringing in this creative program, which was the idea of Jed Oppenheim at the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, he mentioned that to us. And the director, Joy Davenport, and I sat down and tried to get the wheels turning as to how we could implement this program. And so, with the funding that the W.K. Kellogg Foundation gave us for that curriculum, we had our first workshop in 2018. It went so very well. We tried to do it annually. We could not have it in 2019 because Joy was working on our rough cut of this film. And another one of the instructors, Pablo Correa, was working on our then website and curriculum. And so, with the two of them out, we could not have it in 2019. We were supposed to have it in 2020, but of course, it was shut down because of COVID restrictions. So, we had it in 2021 and it went very well. And we are planning to have it again this year, hopefully in Cleveland, Mississippi. And so, what this classroom does, it not only teaches the students how to make their own films, document their family history, but in the classroom discussions, they have discussions about activists like Fannie Lou Hamer, what is her role, and others in the Delta. They have classroom discussions about racial equity and things like that. And so we're hoping to continue that, to give them that creative outlet, to work in digital arts, digital media. That's a field where, people of color are sorely lacking. And so this class prepares them either for college courses in digital studies, digital media, um, and kind of gives them a heads up. The first class that we had, those high school students worked on a film that premiered at Sundance. What average filmmaker can say that? That they had a film premiere at Sundance, but those kids did, thanks to Joy Davenport. And so that's one way of continuing the education. And the second way of honoring Aunt Fannie Lou is with our website, which is a continual educational resource. Um, it contributes to her legacy because there was only so much that we could tell in 56 minutes with this film. There were a lot of things that we just unfortunately were not able to convey in the film. And so we want, and I think it's only fitting, a historical person of her stature and what she accomplished. She needs to have a website dedicated to her. Um, I tell people when I was, trying to raise funding for this, is that if she were president of the United States, this would be her presidential library. This would be the website that you would go to find out anything that you want to know about her. She deserves a website. And so, it's going to be continual. We have a lot of information up there now, biographical materials, her speeches, her songs. But eventually it's going to involve so much more. I'm putting pictures up now from the film, footage. We're going to have a page of her most famous quotes. Joy made a very interesting point the other day that a lot of people quote her but don't give her the attribution. They don't know who said it, but they like how it sounds. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Nobody's free until everybody's free. The world is watching you, things like that. She said that. And people are using that and don't know that she said that. And so things like that. Just, tidbits, anything that anyone wants to know about Fannie Lou Hamer, they will be able to find it on this website. It took us over a decade to compile all of this information. And so we're giving it away for free. Nobody, no student, no researcher, nor archivist should have to work as hard as we have worked to gather this information about such a powerful civil rights icon.
Excellent, excellent. And for those of you who are looking for this website, we're going to post it in the comments section today because we want you to go to Monica's webpage to check out all the presidential library that Monica is curating for Fannie Lou Hamer, Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. For the audience who are who are watching today, Monica and I are live for a few more minutes, and we're going to pin this conversation to the top of our Facebook pages. Monica and I are actively on Facebook, and we love to see questions and comments. If you have questions for Monica while she's here right now, we can answer them live, or if you want to post them later in the comments, I'm sure Monica will take time and respond to you. I want to sort of wrap this up a little bit and just sort of ask you this question. You know, this was your first film as a filmmaker. How was that experience of 10 years making this film and getting it out on February 22nd?
That's an interesting question. After it took so long to get to this point, and Joy and I, we talk about this, and Megan and I, we talk about this. It took so long, really more like 15 years to get to this point that we just never, I think in our head, we envisioned it happening. We dreamed about it happening, but it just seems so far away because trying to raise the funding for this program was like trying to climb a mountain with no legs and no arms. It just seemed at one point like it was just never going to happen. And then things just started falling in place. And so I was actually thinking about this the other day. Okay, here we are, March 10th, March 11th. The film premiered on the 22nd of February. It came and went so quickly after 15 years of struggling so hard. So it seems surreal almost that I just can't believe that it's over. But that part of it is over, and it's a great accomplishment. And of course, Chris, I have to sing your praises. This would not have been possible without you, without Selena Lauderer, without our team, Megan Parker Brooks, Davis Houck, Joy Davenport, and the Kellogg Foundation. They were our biggest supporter, Jed Oppenheim. This team, which also includes RJ Fitzpatrick and Pablo Correa, and even Keith Beauchamp, the advice, all of us working together over the years is what got us to this point. And I am grateful for all of them. But for you, Chris, especially, I will never forget one of our first meetings when we were talking about this, having discussions with PBS. You were like, "Yeah, I really, I'm interested in this. Do you want to roll with me?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I do." I will never forget that. You took that chance with us because who knows where we would be if you had not. And so I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful. I'm glad that we have this package to give to the world, so to speak, of what I'm calling Aunt Fannie Lou's greatest hits. You're not going to find a product like this anywhere else, where you can see her in this element. We were able to uncover and bring to audiences things that I'm sure many of them have never seen before. And we can do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing on our website. Footage, links, locations of where they can find other things there's just so much. People just have no clue how large her presence was and how visible she was. You just can't believe it. What she was able to do, and she still is not recognized. It's just amazing to me.
Well, I thank you for rolling with us. And it took a village on our side. Was super grateful to PBS, who Wendy Lalinas and Celia Bug, who also saw the film. And when I told them you were rolling with us, they were super excited and super supportive. And without their support, along with a few other funders who came on, to include GBH and MacArthur Foundation, we're super grateful that we were able to come around as a village and help bring your vision to PBS. So thank you for rolling with us. And we look forward to continue working with you as you bring people to the website. You continue your workshops into next summer. For those of you who have not seen the film is still streaming for free at pbs.org/America ReFramed. That's our series, the World Channel series, which Fannie Lou Hamer's America is a part of, which is in its 10th season. For those of you who want to own Fannie Lou Hamer's America, or the film, own the film, you can purchase it through Amazon Prime Video on the PBS Documentary Channel or on iTunes. In the coming weeks, if you are a teacher, if you're in a school and you want to use this in the classroom or for other types of screenings, our partners at Women Make Movies will be sharing out ways for teachers to use it in the classroom. I believe that's right, Monica? And so
yes,
this film is widely available. When we brought it to the table, we did it with the understanding through this coalition of partners that we wanted to get the film out there as wide as we can. And so February 22nd last month was the beginning. Hopefully we're going to have more screenings with you in the coming months, and through many of our partner channels at PBS and the PBS Documentary Channel on Amazon. Monica, I don't have anything else for you today. I'm grateful that you wanted to spend a little bit of time as we recognize the anniversary of your aunt. And for those of you who still have questions, like I said, we're going to leave this interview and the Beyond the Lens segment on our Facebook pages. Monica's Facebook page and our Facebook page and America ReFramed Facebook page. If you have comments on either of those pages, we do check them. And we look forward to hearing from you. So please leave your questions or comments, and we will be happy to respond in the coming days. I'm Chris Hastings, executive producer of World Channel of America ReFramed. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you next time.